Hello! Tonight I'm going to give you five-star biographies that I have read recently. There's not really any ranking to these amongst themselves, I'm just going in chronological order. First, The Greatest Night by Thomas Asbridge. I've already raved about this book a lot in other videos. It won my Book of the Year award last year, but suffice it to say, everything cool that you could find in a medieval novel can be found in the life of William Marshall. He's just a fascinating guy, and I'm amazed that a person like that actually existed in history. Benjamin Franklin by Walter Isaacson. Here's a guy I love reading about because he's a self-made man, he loves learning, he loves experimenting, he's obsessed with self-improvement, and he lived in such an interesting historical time period. He was the most famous American before the American Revolution. You get a sense of the world before and after the Revolution by studying his life. Very well worth the read. The Immortal Irishman by Timothy Egan. You've probably never heard of Thomas More before, but how's this for a biography? He was a leader of the Irish Revolution in the 1840s. He's captured. He's sentenced to life in prison in Tasmania. He escapes, goes across the ocean, ends up in New York City where he studies law. Civil War starts. He joins on the side of the Union and becomes a brigadier general. After the war, President Johnson sends him out to be the territorial governor of Montana. And after he does that for a while, he dies under mysterious circumstances. I actually visited the Capitol building of Montana a few years ago, and I saw out front they have the big statue of Thomas More on a horse. And I thought, man, that is a life of adventure. Destiny of the Republic by Candace Millard. This is actually a dual biography of our 20th presidents of the United States, James A. Garfield, and Charles Guiteau, the absolutely crazy person who shot him. This is an infuriating book to read in a way because you can't help but read the first part of it and really like James A. Garfield. Like, you wish you could see what American history would have been like if he had been given a little more chance. And then it's even more infuriating to think that he would have survived the gunshot wound fairly easily if not for a very incompetent doctor that was first on the scene and put himself in charge of the president's well-being. He was sticking his finger in the wound, he was bloodletting, he was doing everything wrong. And that stuff was wrong and out of date even back in 1881 when this all happened. So very sad, preventable death, but such a good read. Of the 4 presidential assassinations that we've had in American history, I think this one is probably the least well known, but certainly deserves another look. The Last Man Who Knew Everything by David N. Schwartz. Enrico Fermi fled Italy in 1938 due to racial laws that were being put into place by Mussolini, and his wife was Jewish. He created the world's first nuclear reactor. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics, and he was a main player in the Manhattan Project. This is the great title for the book because it is amazing how smart he was and how quick he was to learn things. He was the kind of guy who would read a book and then he wouldn't have any need for the book because he'd already learned it. It was already all in his head. Just this superhuman ability to internalize new things. It's amazing. Oppenheimer tends to get more attention, and there was a recent book by his, American Prometheus, which is going to get the Christopher Nolan treatment this summer. But I thought this book on Fermi was a lot better. I think I'm going to be the only one that watches Oppenheimer this summer and looking for Enrico Fermi. Like, how big of a role is he going to play? What's he going to do? So there you have it, my 5 5-star biographies.